We're going to begin. If you have a question that you must ask right now, it's okay if you interrupt me. It's fine. Raise your hand, unmute yourself, and I highly recommend that you take handwritten notes throughout the masterclass. There will be a Q&A time at the end. You can ask everything, but feel free to interrupt me too. We're going to get started. Here is what I wanted to share with you. I guess everyone who is here today wants to improve their English skills. Do you want to let me know why has this become urgent? Why is there a need? Or maybe that's not urgent at all, but you've been trying for many years without success, or maybe with little success. Why do you need it?
Maybe I'll answer first. For me, it's not urgent, but it's very important to improve your English if you use it maybe in your formal life or your business life. For me, it's very important. I guess that there's any professional limit in anything in your life. So you should always improve some of your skills. For me, English is part of my professional life. So I do communicate with many foreign people, foreign companies, and for me, it's important.
So for you, better English means better career opportunities.
Let's say it is a plus, yes.
So it's not a must-have, but it's a big advantage. Is that right?
Yeah, let's say yes.
Does anyone else want to share? Why do you want to improve it? Because all of you already speak English quite well. Amina, what's your story?
I'm trying to transfer to another sphere, and I have to consume a lot of notes in English and with the very specific terms. And now I want to do it without translation and without a lot of hard working for 6-month classes. I want to do it differently, and I was looking for opportunity to return to my English classes. I just wanted to see is there opportunity to do something every day, but without 6-month classes when you tried extra hard and then you forgot barely everything. I want to try a different way.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I'm going to share my story. I'm going to share what I'm doing. I'm going to share the stories of people who have succeeded. And yeah, that includes daily practice. Nina, do you want to say a few words?
Hi, everyone. It's a lifetime journey for me. I'm going to actually relocate to another country, and I would like to speak spontaneously and to think English. That is the thing for me at the moment.
So you're relocating to a new country, you're advancing your career, and it's important for you to be spontaneous and fluent.
Yeah.
I've been working with people for a lot of years, and every time I talk to someone whose English skills already pretty strong, but they need to improve them big time, usually people give me the same answers. I want to be spontaneous, I want to speak effortlessly, and I don't want to think so much and overthink every word. People kind of know what they want, but people have very vague understanding of how to get there and what they should be doing. They want something new, something they have never had before. Still, they keep doing what they know. They keep engaging in activities that got them to a certain level instead of picking up something completely new. Because people are doing the same thing over and over again, they get stuck at the same level for years. I want to show you my path and what works for me, what works for hundreds of people who work with me or who choose to walk this path as well. I'm not saying this is the best path, but this is what has helped me a lot. And hopefully this can help you as well. This is me. After 9 years of teacher training and 12 years of teaching experience, this is how I spoke, and you can see the difference.
And how important is reading LinkedIn? It's worked in Russia and nobody ever uses it.
I know it's blocked in Russia, unfortunately. And I know in Russia really nobody uses it. But in the rest of the world, 7 million people use it. Or maybe I'm mistaken, but around that number, a lot of people use it. And if you want to land a job in Europe or in the United States, you have to be online. They need to find you. They need to be able to...
I hope you can hear the difference between how I speak today and how I looked and how I spoke before. A lot has changed. I think my entire personality has changed. But I spoke this way and I knew that something was off. I tried to sound American, but a lot of my vowels and sounds were British. I tried too hard, and I can see that in my video. I tried too hard to make a good impression. There was arrogance, there's a lot of insecurity. There is fear of speaking in front of a camera. There is a lot going on. I'm hearing not only pronunciation mistakes, but mistakes in sentence structure as well. This is me. I did teacher training. I started working long before I started my teacher training, so I have more years of experience. I really admire all of you guys, the people who didn't get any training and who learned English by themselves. Because a lot of the people I work with, they are self-taught. They never did formal training, they didn't actually take a lot of online courses, they just picked up from the people around them, or they learned English at work. This is what I sounded like 4 years ago.
Let me show you the progress I've made. Improving your English skills, which means you know actually what you can do every day. You know how long it takes you to complete an exercise each day. You know what results you're getting, and you know how to measure your own results.
Okay, this is like someone speaking very fast. Again, pronunciation mistakes.
And I'm checking my own understanding. If I can put the explanation in a 1-minute video or less than that, and it makes sense.
There are mistakes in the words understand, video. I want you to understand one thing. People always told me your English is so good. This is what I kept hearing all the time. I was one of the top 5 students in my university. My photograph was on the wall. You walk into the building, my face was there. I was always considered to be one of the best students, but I could always hear that I'm not there yet because every time I spoke to native speakers, every time I went to the US, every time I wanted to film a video for YouTube, that was very painful. For a lot of people, this is good enough. I'm working with people for whom this is not good enough. If I had this level after kind of being considered the best student and after so many years of training, something is really not working in the language learning system. I could take any language test. I could pass any language test. I did C1, C2, that was not a problem. But that was not enough for my real world goals. That's why I started developing the methodology that could help me make progress and continuously progress. When I was 20, I moved to Germany, and actually I had to forget English for 1 year and I had to start learning German. I first improved my German skills, and the results that I had achieved helped me improve my English skills. When I studied in Germany, when I did my master's, I thought I knew German. But when I found myself on campus, I couldn't talk to people. I couldn't understand professors. I had to submit written assignments in German. I had to speak in public in German. And I couldn't do any of that, even though I had done all the possible German tests and I had passed all of them. I had the highest results. On paper, I was excellent. In real life, I was way below average. So if you're someone who needs C1, C2, you're in the wrong place. We're not doing this here. I am very interested in real life application of the skills that we're practicing. It all boils down to how well you can learn. Taking a 6-month online course and trying too hard so that you can forget everything and so that you never have to touch those exercises again is not the most effective way to learn. I have been applying the same system that I've developed and continuously applied to my English skills. I've applied it to several skills. I want to show you one more example. For example, this is how I used to draw, my attempts at drawing 2.5 years ago. And after 1.5 years of practice, this is what I can draw. Just 1.5 years of practice. I never took an online course. I never did formal training. I never went to a drawing school. But I want you to look at the number. If you think that a 6-month course is too long, this is 1.5 years of daily practice. Even not daily, I would say weekly. I don't draw every day. Because once you are really good at a certain skill, you don't have to work on it all the time. You have to sustain it, you have to improve it, but you don't have to develop it from scratch. When you finish a 6-month course, and then you do nothing for another 6 months, what happens is that you have to go back to square one and start at the beginning. And that's why it feels like a never-ending cycle. 1.5 years is the time that it takes to drastically change how you sound. 1.5 years of practice, not 1.5 years of private lessons or online courses. There's a big difference. That's my message number one. If you really want to improve your English skills, please forget the online courses because they do not work. I stopped selling online courses a few years ago for the same reason. They simply do not work, unfortunately. People buy them, they complete them, they mark them as done, and then they go and look for another one because they're not happy with the results. I'm not saying that all the online courses are bad, but this is what really matters. What do you do after the course is over? And a lot of people have no idea. If you think about all the notes that you have taken during an online course, where are they? Have you ever gotten back to them? Have you ever used them? Have you ever applied what you learned? If the answer is no, then it was a waste of time, unfortunately. To learn something means to change. If nothing changed after you completed an online course, you haven't learned much. That's why I stopped selling online courses and I focused on giving people opportunities to create the right environment for deliberate, conscious practice. What matters is what you do daily, regardless of whether you have a coach or don't have a coach. So instead of online courses, I advocate for daily practice. I named this masterclass How to Pay Attention to Your English to Improve It Big Time. Because how you practice is how you pay attention to what you're doing. A lot of people don't really like paying attention to what they're doing because they want to pay attention to what the teacher is doing. They want to pay attention to the content, but let me show you what we need to pay attention to. Because this will change your practice. You need to pay attention to how you speak, which is output, and we want to pay attention to how they speak. When I say they, I mean native speakers, because at this point, we have to learn directly from the source, not from the subjective interpretation of the source. Here's what I mean. If you take an online course put together by an influencer, doesn't matter if this influencer is a native speaker or not a native speaker, this is their subjective interpretation of what it means to speak good English. What I suggest instead is that you use the target language, in our case English, to learn more about the target language. Learning directly from the source means learning directly from the people who speak this language from birth. And there are many. Again, you want to be very careful about who you want to learn from. You want to learn from people who are educated, people who are not boring speakers, people you admire for whatever reason. But there are many, many native speakers you can learn from. You need to make sure you have a very clear list of criteria. Let's say, if I want to improve my American accent, I do not watch teachers with a British accent. I just don't, because that distracts me from my purpose. That distracts me from my goal. Let's try to clarify what that means. Practicing differently means paying attention differently. What we want to pay attention to is how we speak. What is output? When you say something in English, you need to be able to see what works, what doesn't work. This is what you pay attention to. Because most people simply pay attention to what is correct and what is not correct in the opinion of the teacher. I want you to remember about the purpose, and our purpose is to connect with native speakers, right? I hope this is why you learn English, because you want to connect with those people. As you speak to those people, you want to pay attention to what works, meaning they understand me, we can make a deal, or what doesn't work, meaning they don't understand me, I don't understand them, I have to over-explain, everything gets frustrating, what doesn't work, and what keeps me stuck. This is the most difficult part because it seems to work because I've always been doing this. I've been doing this the same way all my life. And I don't really want to look at it because I don't really want to change it. But in reality, it keeps me stuck because I keep repeating this over and over again and it keeps me stuck. What keeps you stuck is very hard to see. This is what I specialize in, and this is what I help people see. This is output. Instead of paying attention to every word and questioning every word, you say, is this correct? Is this incorrect? Because I see people do this all the time. They take one step forward and they stop and they look around for either approval or disapproval. Please tell me this is correct or tell me I'm wrong. And then, I'm sorry, my English is not so great. Year after year, you keep repeating this phrase, I'm sorry, my English is so bad, which is not helping us, right? How they speak. We're learning from them. So it's very important that we pay attention to how they speak and we choose people from whom we want to learn. What do you pay attention to here? I'm going to put it this way. I know and I guess. A lot of people play the guessing game, meaning they don't really understand native speakers, but they pretend that they do. Let's say you're watching a movie in English and you really know what you're hearing, meaning you can repeat every word they said, you can summarize it, you know exactly what they said. You can confidently say, I know. This example is when you're watching a movie or you're listening to a song or you're listening to a 40-minute presentation and you kind of know, people like telling me, I think I got the main idea, but I don't really know. I heard some of the words and the words that I didn't hear. I'm trying to fill in the gaps and I'm trying to connect the words that I did hear, which means I think I know, but I'm not 100% sure. This is where we guess. It's very important that you pay attention to this. Can you say I know or I guess is more true in this situation? There's no shame in saying I don't know, I'm guessing. A lot of people find a lot of shame here, and that's why even if they're guessing, they say, oh yeah, I know, I got it. But in reality, no, they didn't. I tried to simplify it for you. This is what you pay attention to when you speak, and this is what you pay attention to when they speak. Does that make sense? Pay attention, grammar, vocabulary, tenses is not on the list here because these are the details. If we only pay attention to the details, we don't see the big picture. You may not understand many things, right? Maybe the sentence structure that you're hearing doesn't make sense to you. Maybe you heard a word that doesn't make sense. Maybe their accent is so different from what you're used to. There can be many things. It's important to be able to put a finger on what it is that you're not understanding and then break it down into different components. Okay, what else do we need to pay attention to and why do we pay attention to those things? I guess you all want results, right? A lot of people think about results in terms of correct, incorrect. For example, I scored 9 on my IELTS exam. Sounds like a good result. And a lot of times people are fixated on a good result, meaning, did I say it correctly? Did I say it beautifully? Did I choose the right tense? People are stuck in their head trying to say everything they can to get approval. That's all they care about. If it's an exam situation, it's very obvious. You get an A or you get an F. But if it's a real world scenario, a lot of people consider approval to be a good result. We speak for approval. And native speakers and other people don't really like it that much. It's not their job to judge our English skills. When we're so fixated on getting approval, there is no room in our awareness for other people. We're stuck in our bubble of, am I correct? Please tell me my English is good. We have no time and no capacity to even pay attention to them. Are they understanding us? Are they listening? Are they struggling? Do they need help? Are we connecting? We don't have time to think about that because we don't have the capacity. That's why I prefer and I want people to think not only about results, but also about their purpose. Everyone who's here and everyone who wants to improve their listening skills wants to improve their spoken English, right? We want to speak better. And everyone I speak to wants to be spontaneous. What's the purpose of being spontaneous? What's the purpose of spontaneous speech, which is the hardest skill to develop? What's the purpose? If you're in a sales meeting, then we can talk about a result. But let's say if you're talking to your husband, who's a native speaker, or if you're talking to your child, what's the purpose? If you're trying to make friends in a new country, if you're trying to build and motivate an international team in an English-speaking environment, what's the purpose? To share information in a proper manner and time, deliver a message. You can deliver a message in writing. Being understood. Okay, how do you know you're understood? Yes, being understood, I get it. But if we just want to share information, we can do it in writing. Yeah, connect. The purpose is always connection. There's only one purpose, connection. Because spontaneous speech means we don't have any time to prepare what we're going to say. We have to act right now. We have to respond now. The purpose is to connect with another person. If this connection happened, you will feel seen, heard, understood, right? But the purpose is connection. The purpose is not to hear, oh, your English is so good. I heard it a million times. It never helped. It feels good for a moment, but then you realize that What they really mean is you speak good English for a Russian. And that's not what I want. If we want to create connection with people, these are the skills that we need to start developing. Spontaneous speech is where we're going, meaning I'm fluent and absolutely free in my expression. I don't need to write every word that I'm going to say. I don't need to think and overthink every word. I don't need to translate anything in my head. I don't have a script. I'm not reading off the teleprompter. I'm being spontaneous with you. This is what most people want. And of course, it doesn't mean that you're unclear. We don't want to be spontaneous and messy. We don't want to be spontaneous and ambiguous, let's say. We don't want to be spontaneous and incorrect. Of course, we want to be spontaneous, clear, precise. Prepared speech is a necessary step to master spontaneous speech. If you can't do prepared speech, if you resist the task of recording yourself, this is also the exercise that helps us develop prepared speech. If you resist writing, which is step 0 when it comes to developing prepared speech, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to go to speaking clubs or just join online meetings where everybody speaks. You think you're practicing spontaneous speech, but practicing always means improving. What you will see that you go to speaking clubs, you're simply repeating everything you already know. You're maintaining the same level. You're not improving your spontaneous speaking skills. Maybe you're improving your listening skills. Maybe you're improving the skill of being more courageous with people. Right? Maybe you're improving your social skills, but not spontaneous speech. Prepared speech is what we practice before that. And even before that, we want to make sure that our speech is correct. If you make basic mistakes in the verb tenses, verb forms, conditionals, articles, there's no way we can be spontaneous and clear. We're confusing people if we don't use the right articles, if we don't use the right verb forms, if we don't use the right words. For example, as I said, I work with people whose English skills are already good, but as they develop their English skills, they also acquired a lot of unconscious and often unnoticed patterns that they don't see. For example, I had a student who kept saying the word mention. He was like, oh, I mentioned that. What do you mean? He was confident that the word mention means notice. Every time he said, yeah, I mentioned that before. I was like, when did you mention that? He actually meant, I noticed that before. But he couldn't see that what he said was not received every single time. There are a lot of things like that. We say the words that we think are the right words because we are translating our thoughts directly into another language. But people who are listening to us may be polite and tell us that they understand us, but in reality, they don't. It's important that we have the capacity to check their understanding. It doesn't mean that first you work on your correct speech and only then you move on to developing your prepared speech and spontaneous speech. We can work on being correct at all of these levels. When you get to this level, spontaneous speech, maybe you're going to be working on your accent, just like I'm doing right now. As you're working on your prepared speech, you will also be correct in a lot of things. We want to be more correct all the time. I'm trying to find an example to show you what I mean. Maybe you guys have experience where you kept repeating the same word or the same phrase without realizing that people didn't get you. For example, a person says, I tried golfing. I'm just saying exactly what the person said. I wrote it down. It doesn't balance my body. It's a one-sided sports activity. What do you think they're saying about golfing? It doesn't balance my body. It's a one-sided sports activity. And she added, it's concentrated on one part of the body. Every sentence is grammatically correct, but I don't really understand what any of those sentences mean. Can you understand what she's saying? I'm going to repeat it one more time. It doesn't balance my body. It's a one-sided sports activity. It concentrated on one part of the body. What do you see? What do you think the person is talking about? And do you see it immediately? I understand that she doesn't like golf because it's not dynamic. It's not shaping all the body. You see? This is exactly what's happening. She said exactly that, and a person understood that she doesn't like golf because it's not dynamic. They may continue the conversation thinking that they understood each other, but this is not what she meant at all, because when I asked additional questions, it turns out that As she played golf, she was always bending to the right, and the right side of her body felt very stiff. Then she had troubles walking after the game because the whole right side of the body felt stiff and almost like paralyzed. She felt a lot of disbalance and discomfort in the body. That's what she meant. But when she says it's concentrated on one part of the body, I'm thinking about the body part. Does she mean a leg? Does she mean a hand? What part of the body are we talking about? And native speakers do not have the experience of translating what you are saying into your first language because they do not speak your first language. You're always translating and you think it makes sense. They're not translating. Let's be honest. Most people who speak English from birth have zero experience of learning a foreign language. They don't know what it means to translate in their head. You say something, they either see it or they don't see it. That's it. We want to make sure that we're correct, then we practice prepared speech, and then we master spontaneous speech. And for every step, there are specific exercises. I want to show you an example. This is my experience. I said before that we want to be paying attention to two things. Remember, output. What works, what doesn't work, what keeps me stuck. Here's my example. I have been teaching for over 18 years already. And after about 12 years, I was like, something is not working. Because even though I had all this training and even though everybody kept telling me, your English is so good, I couldn't do these things. I couldn't speak in public. I couldn't film for YouTube. I was terrified of the camera. This is also prepared speech. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't understand movies and people. I would do a lot of guessing work. I thought I understood, but I didn't really hear every word. I couldn't sell. I couldn't express myself. Maybe you can relate to the last one. The last one is now a big, big part of what I'm doing, and this is my personal focus. When you can't understand other people, you also feel that you're not being understood. When you can't find the words to express what you're really thinking or how you're really feeling, you start over-explaining, you start giving them more words, and then you look at them and you see it's not working, they're still not getting it, and then you give up. You smile, you put on a facade, you pretend like you understand, you pretend like everything is okay. You don't want to go deeper. You don't want to create any intimacy because that terrifies you. Let them see the simplified version of me and maybe they will never see the real me because I have no idea how to express it. I have no idea how to express my anger. I don't know how to express my disagreement. I don't know how to stand up for myself in English. I don't know to say what I like and why I like it. I don't know how to communicate my needs. These are very important parts of building relationships with people. I'm not only talking about personal relationships, also at work. If you're managing a team, you need to understand what other people need. You need to learn to give them feedback. Even if you're working on a team for someone and you're not happy with your work conditions, you need to be able to express that. And a lot of people say that it's easy to talk to people at work, but outside of work, I don't even want to touch that, right? I don't know how to talk to people about my weekend, about my kids, so let's not touch it because I know how to talk about work. This is familiar. My personal life, who I am outside of work, I have no idea how to say that. Selling, if you sell in English, that's like you will understand what I mean. It doesn't matter if you have C1 or C2, just ask yourself one question. What level of English do I need to sell something to a native speaker? You will immediately understand what you need to work on. If you've never tried selling something to a native speaker, you don't know what I'm talking about. But those people who know, they know. This is what worked. My success is I consider myself a very good learner and I'm very coachable. So I learn fast. I didn't test this hypothesis only in English. I'm working on many skills at the same time. I just showed you drawing. We could also speak about working out. We can also speak about fitness. We can speak about all the other skills. But this is what really helped me. What I did and what helped, I did physical training because working your body really helps you learn. It helps you concentrate. It helps you be more attentive. And we're talking about attentiveness. It really enhances your cognitive abilities. I integrated practice in my daily life. Instead of taking an intensive course, I told myself I'm going to do it every day. This is what worked. And then I realized that it's not about how much you know about grammar or words or articles or any of that, or rules. It all boils down to how well and how fast you can learn, meaning change. My mistakes plus my successes, this was my norm. The way you speak today, the way you sound today, the way you open your mouth today, what you say, how you correct or not correct yourself, how you apologize for what you said or didn't say. This is your norm. If it wasn't normal for you, you wouldn't be doing it. So as soon as you open your mouth and you start speaking in English, we hear what's normal for you. Just like, by looking at how you pick your breakfast, I can tell what's normal for you because this, you do it without thinking. Whatever is normal, usually it becomes invisible. We stop paying attention to what is normal to us. But if we want to improve our English skills and get to the next level, what we really need to focus on is on changing what's normal. This takes time. To change your norm is very scary because if you take an online course, they usually promise results, right? You will do 72 hours of English classes, and in 72 lessons, you will achieve C1. So we're waiting for that result. When you want to change your norm, you have no idea what you are creating because you've never been that fluent before. You have no idea what it feels like. You have no idea how your mouth is moving when you're fluent. You have no idea what your tongue is doing. You have no idea what it feels like and what it means to understand every single word, to show empathy in English. You don't have this experience. You're creating something you've never had. And this part is scary, but this is the only way. Of course, you have some understanding because you look at other people. That was how I did it as well. I looked at other people and I was like, if they could make it, maybe I can make it too. That was my only kind of map, I would say. That was the only thing that was clear to me. If they could make it, it's not impossible. Maybe I can make it too. But I had no idea what person I would become if I got here. The scary part is that not only your English skills change, your entire personality changes. And we're developing a second language identity. You may find that you sound different in English. You use your body language differently in English. You develop a whole new identity that speaks and thinks in English. It may speak faster or it may speak slower. It can be more empathetic or less empathetic. So it's a second language identity. You don't really know what result you're going to create. To change your norm means to change what I do daily, because whatever is normal is invisible and we do it every day without noticing. Every time we open our mouth, we start speaking and we make the same mistakes and we don't see them. We want to change that. To change that, we need to see it, to see what I do daily. Seeing it is not enough either. It's like you want to question. You see it and you want to question it. Do I want to keep doing that? Or do I want to change it? And sometimes the answer will be yes. Yeah, that stays and that needs to go. To see what you do daily and to change what you do daily, you need to pay attention to what you're doing. Again, it all boils down to attention. And when you have created some result, you need to work on strengthening what you've created. A lot of people stop after step one. They create some small results and they stop practicing. They do not invest in strengthening what they've created. This is very important. This is everything that I wanted to share with you. I suggest that we do some practice. Okay, then I'll need your help here because we'll need to choose. Oh, by the way, this is another picture that I drew in 2022. When I showed it to my teacher, she was like, can't you see that the waves did not look real? So this is not a very good picture. I was like, yeah. So she told me, you see that, right? What I want you to do for the next 2 months is you only draw the waves. That's it. Don't care about the sky. I want you to draw the waves until you really get it. Practice means kind of doing the same thing over and over again, and this is why people think it's boring. But every time you do it again, you create a different result. You're kind of doing the same thing, but you're creating a new result every single time. So my practice here was to just draw the waves. That's it, to master that. It's not as good as the one that I showed you before because now I also know what I'm capable of. I also thought this was good, just like I thought my English was pretty good. But when I draw the lion that I showed you before, I understood that I could do better. a lot better. I just didn't know that I could do better. To practice the skills we have been speaking about, we can do the following. If you're a community member, do the community quizzes. This is the simplest thing you can do to understand what your norm is today. We have a quiz on articles, we have a quiz on tenses, we have a couple more. Just do the quiz, look at how many answers you got correctly, and you will see what is normal for you, what is not normal for you. For example, you might think you know present simple, but after this community quiz, you might realize that, oh, I'm actually using present continuous where I need to use a simple present tense. This is the easiest way because you can see how many correct answers you got. The next exercise is summarizing it. We can do it together, I can show you. Or we can do hot seat coaching right now if anyone wants to be in the hot seat and practice spontaneous speech. I can show you how that works. Why these exercises? Because the result is going to be precision. When you summarize something you have seen, something other people said, something other people emailed, you want to summarize it precisely. Because if you can't say exactly what happened, you didn't really pay attention to what was said or to what happened. Maybe you're not talking about what happened, but about your interpretation of what happened. This is what I see a lot as well. Precision means I see it. I see exactly what it is that I need to see. And if I see it, I can do something about it. Because a lot of times people say, oh, I made so many mistakes. That's all they can see. They just see a lot of mistakes and they get discouraged and disappointed. But if you ask them, what mistakes did you make? They have no idea because they never paid attention to that. They wanted approval so much. And when they got disapproval, they stopped paying attention. Unfortunately. What do you want to do? Okay. If you guys want 3, then who wants to volunteer? Yulia, do you want to be in the hot seat? I don't think I know you.
Yes, I would love to, but I can see that Amina has already said that she can, so I'm not sure who goes first. Okay.
Let's find a way to make sure you both practice. So Yulia and Amina, welcome to the hot seat. Amina, have you met Julia before?
No.
Okay, what are you dying to ask? Let's practice creating connection. What would you want to ask Julia so that she can talk?
Julia, hi. Why did you decide to volunteer as someone in hot seat?
Hi, Amina. I think I just decided to be more courageous because in the end, we all want to change something, and that would be a shame not to use the opportunity, not to try it myself already, start practicing now instead of postponing it until Monday.
Ask more. Practice, continue in the conversation. This is not the end. Doesn't sound like the end of the conversation.
Could you please repeat the last sentences?
Yeah, I
I
said
have
that.
some problem.
Yeah, I said that that would be a shame to miss the opportunity to practice right now, not to continue doing the cycle of learning something, but not really doing it, postponing it until Monday. The Monday when you actually start doing something, it never comes. I don't know if you have the same experience with the things that you want to change, but it's like it's in your mind, but not in your deeds, not in your actions. So I guess that's my problem. I'm tackling it now.
So you think that you need to be more courageable person to achieve different result, as I understand?
Yeah, to start doing something. Exactly. Like be more courageous to make the first step, then the second one, then the third one. Could you relate to this? Do you feel like you have the same problem?
Yeah, indeed. I think that from time to time I need some boost, some external events to do something that I really wanted to do and to change my daily routine.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for being so courageous. Now let me show you. This is what you said. Now let's look at what you said. This is your norm. This is what you said without thinking about it. You didn't prepare your words. These are the words that just came out. Amina, this is your first phrase.
Julia, hi. Why did you decide to volunteer as someone in hot seat?
Can you say this again? Because I didn't understand you.
Hot seat?
Hot seat, right? Hot seat. What do you see in the first sentence? Does it sound good to you?
No, because I say decided.
What should you have
It's a
said?
mistake. Why did you decide?
Do you remember saying decided?
I'm not sure, but I actually can do this kind of mistakes in
No,
spontaneous.
we have it recorded. Listen.
Julia, hi. Why did you decide to
You said decided. But when you spoke, did you hear yourself say decided?
No, I
Yes,
think I didn't.
this is the question. Like you see, instead of, yes, sometimes I can do that, instead of trying to justify that, we want to look exactly at the sentence. We want to go back exactly to that moment. Do I remember doing that? No, it means I wasn't paying attention. But you see that you should have said decide. Why did you decide? Because you already know that. And this is what happens all the time. We know it and we forget to use it because we're not paying attention to how we speak in the moment. Where do you think your attention was as you spoke?
I was trying to figure it out what I need to say, what I need to ask.
Yeah, you were thinking about your words. Right. Julia, this is what you said. Let's listen to that.
I think I just decided to be more courageous because in the end, we all want to change something, and that would be a shame not to use the opportunity, not to try it myself already, start practicing now instead of postponing it until Monday.
Is the transcript correct?
No, I feel like I did say not to try in the last sentence.
Is this a sentence, by the way? Does this look like a sentence if you listen to yourself?
Well, it sounds like disrupted sentence.
We can either speak in sentences, in complete sentences, or in fragments. Let's listen to it one more time.
Not to try it myself already, start practicing now instead of postponing it until.
It sounds like this is one fragment, not to try it myself already, and then you start another fragment. Start practicing now, because there's no subject. You see? You start with a verb, and there's no subject here, there's no subject here. No English sentence exists without a subject and a verb. Are you happy with what you said? Is this what you meant to say?
Content-wise, I'm happy. The form, well, that could be better for sure.
Can you see what can be better? If you were to say it again, how would you say it differently?
Like in exact words? Well, I would definitely love to have this thought before. So like I already know what I want to say, and I would just need to reorganize it in a moment.
We don't have time for that in real life.
No, we don't.
So that means we need to pay attention to what we're doing right now in the moment. This is the self-correction exercise. You did the right thing, both of you. In the moment of speaking, we need to focus on our conversation partner. We need to focus on what we're saying. We don't have time to think about our grammar, to choose the right word. We don't have time for that. That's why we do the self-correction practice after we're done speaking, so that next time you say it better. Because if you don't do the self-correction practice, next time you're going to say the same. And again, you're not going to hear yourself say the wrong verb. Try to say the same thing one more time.
I decided to be more courageous because we all want to change something in the end. And that would be a shame not to use the opportunity and not to start practicing now instead of postponing it until Monday. But even now it sounds too long for me, like too
I
wordy.
think that can be the end of the sentence, because not to use and then not to start and then postponing, they're not parallel. So let's stop here and let's make a sentence out of this fragment. Start with a subject.
The easiest one would be I. I would love to start practicing now instead of postponing it.
Now instead of postponing it?
Yes.
Do you want to use until Monday?
Yes.
Maybe we can make it shorter instead of next Monday. I want to start practicing now instead of next Monday. Not even instead. Maybe not next week. This is another interesting thing. We have this saying in the Russian language, начать с понедельника. It does not exist in English. So a native speaker would like, why Monday? Why not Tuesday?
How would a native speaker say this?
That's what you need to find out. We have a lot of resources in the community to check how would native speakers say that. Does anyone have a suggestion? What have you heard native speakers say?
Well, they do definitely use something connected to the beginning of the year.
Yes.
Like New Year's resolution.
New Year resolutions, yeah. There's no idiomatic expression with the word Monday.
No.
So that's going to be your homework, okay, to find out. Maybe there's not. So now we want to question it. We saw it, now we want to question it. Is it even correct? Does it even exist in English? Because we're so confident using the word Monday, because to us it makes a lot of sense. We've heard it many times. But do native speakers understand that? Would they, receive your message exactly the way you want to send it? I would love to start practicing now and not next week and not next year. We can make it as simple like that for now. You could use the word wait. I would like to start now and not wait for something. Or I would like to start practicing now and not next week and not next year. And then you don't need that part, okay? Now say the whole thing again.
So I decided to be more courageous because in the end, we all want to change something, and I would be ashamed not to use the opportunity.
Don't
I
hurry.
would love to,
Don't
yeah,
hurry so much.
I would love to start practicing now and not next week.
Does it sound clear to you now?
Clearer.
Better,
Clear.
right? Better.
Better, yeah.
So when you do the self-correction exercise, you want to see it, you want to question it, you want to change it. If you can't, ask for feedback, ask more competent learners or more competent people who can help you change that. And then you absolutely need to say it out loud again. Not read it, but say it out loud so your brain remembers that, so your brain can hear that, this is how we say it correctly. If you do this work in your head, it's not going to work. All right. So this is what Amina said. Yuda, let's listen to what you said next.
Yeah, sure. So I said that would be a shame to miss the opportunity to practice right now and not to, continue doing this cycle of learning something, but not really doing it, postponing it until Monday. And this Monday, like the Monday when you actually start doing something, it never comes. Like, I don't know if you have the same experience with the things that you want to change, but it's like it's in your mind, but not in your deeds, not in your actions. So I guess that's my problem.
What do you think about what you just heard? Like, if you were the receiver of this message, what would you think?
I would think that there is a lot of things to follow, many threads. A listener would have to focus on each of these threads to get to the end of the message.
So you think it would make sense to try to say it using fewer words, right?
For sure.
Let's give it a try. What is not working in this fragment? Can you see what's not working? Repetition, right? Again, Monday. You said it 3 times.
Yeah.
Now we know that a native speaker will most probably not respond to that the way you want them to respond. What else is not working? We want to be very specific rather than everything is not working. Have you ever heard native speakers say, continue doing the cycle? You said doing. Have you ever heard anyone say, do the cycle?
No, there must be some different verb.
You just say, continue the cycle. This is the word that you don't need.
That's nice. We got rid of unnecessary words. Cycle of.
So you said of, it didn't hear you. Okay. So you see, this is not working. What else is not working? For native speakers, I'm not asking what is not correct. What is not working if you want to create connection, if you want to have a good conversation?
Well, I'm not sure about the part of trying to make a listener to relate. Like, if it's necessary that they would have the same issue.
But yeah,
like,
you're asking, you want to be relatable. That's a good thing. Have you ever heard anyone say it's in your mind, but not in your, you said deeds?
Yeah.
Or actions? Have you ever heard anyone say that?
I don't know. I might have.
Now, are you sure that they would understand you?
Not sure about the use of the word deeds, because it sounds too weighted, too loaded, like it's something from moral.
You're guessing. You want to check the exact definition of the word deed. And is there a difference between deed and action? The one thing I need you to know about the English language, it's the language of verbs. And you have a tendency to use it and the verb to be. This is the weakest form there is in the English language. It's like it's in your mind. You use it twice, you use the verb to be twice. A strong verb, an action verb, will always create a better result for you. For example, when you think about what you want to say, or what you want to do, but you never actually do it. We use 2 action verbs, think and do. Instead of it's in your mind, it's not in your actions. What is
Yeah.
it? What are we talking about? What is it?
What I meant is this will to change something,
Okay, but
it's not
but you
clear.
didn't say the word will before, so how are we supposed to know that you mean will? You didn't use this word before.
True.
So for example, you see, this is what you can practice. Making sure that I start every sentence with a clear subject and I avoid starting my sentences with it. I want to pay attention to my sentences, and if I overuse the verb to be, I ask myself, can I replace it with a stronger verb that will help people see exactly what I mean? What if we replace Monday with the word day? Also, I want you to see what you said, the cycle of learning something but not really doing it. What do you mean? The cycle of learning something or the cycle of planning to learn something?
What I actually wanted to say is to juxtapose, like to make clear comparison of knowing how to do something and really doing something.
But you were talking about being courageous just before. So you were talking about not doing something because you don't have the courage, and then doing something because you do have the courage. You summoned the courage. Now you're suddenly changing to knowing something versus doing it. Where are we?
Yeah, we ask this question again. So I tried the opportunity, like use the opportunity to shape my thought better, what I actually want to say.
Yes. So you said, I want to start now, which means I haven't started before. I haven't done anything before. Is that right? Like as a
Yeah.
listener, this is what I understand. I was indecisive. I didn't do anything, so I'm ready to start.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're saying the cycle of learning. Learning means doing to me, but you're actually talking about something before learning.
Yeah, I would then convey my thought better. I would change learning to knowing how to do it and actually doing it.
That changes the story, because if you're talking about courage, then it means the cycle of wanting to do something and never getting to do it. That's what you're talking about, if I understand it correctly.
But wanting to do something means that I already know what I need to do.
But you don't know
So
how to do it.
we all know that we would better eat less meat, for example, because it's good for us. It, I don't know, reduces risks of cancer. But not so many people apply this knowledge to their actions.
But then we need the word knowing, not learning.
Right. So I would change it to like knowing how to do it.
Knowing something, for example, I know that this exists. I know math. I know words. It's different from knowing how to use something. It's not the cycle anymore, because knowing is not an active verb. It's a static verb. I know it, and that's it. I need you to understand what people see when you say the word know. It's a fact. There's no process here, there's no action. You spoke about courage before, so for me, it's doing versus not doing. Being indecisive versus acting. This is courage. Knowing has nothing to do with courage.
I don't think I was trying to make a connection between my first answer, which was not
That's
that
the
shaped.
thing. I am trying to make a connection, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to follow you, and you already are talking about something else. And Amina asked you again, she asked you to clarify what you said. I'm also like Amina, I'm trying to understand what you meant.
But I can feel that in a spontaneous speech and conversations, people sometimes say something and then they realize that, well, it's not exactly what they wanted to say, and they correct themselves.
You did?
So,
Or did you mean to correct yourself here?
well, I meant to give a different answer. So this is why.
Okay. So if you meant to give a different answer, maybe you want to let us know, because you said, so I said that, so I think you're repeating what you said. But if you said, let me start over, what I actually wanted to say, if you say this, let me start over, then I know, okay, I'm listening to something else. I'm listening to her clarify it, right? Let me start over. This is what I meant. And then you can start explaining what you meant. For example, you could say here, that would be a shame to miss the opportunity to practice right now because, let's create a connection here. Because what?
Because I tend get in a trap of knowing how to do something, but not doing it.
I feel trapped. A subject and a verb. I know how to do something. Continue.
But I don't actually do it.
Okay, now read from the top until do it.
Sure. Let me start over. This is what I meant, that it would be a shame to miss the opportunity to practice right now because I feel trapped. I know how to do something, but I don't actually do it.
Yeah, we need to pause here. This is what I meant. That would be a shame to miss the opportunity to practice right now because I feel trapped. Does it sound clear to you now?
Again, better. But I would love to be more precise, less wordy.
Do it after you're done speaking. You see, your pattern is to use it. Your habit is to use the verb to be, and your habit is to speak in fragments.
Yeah.
So you look at what you say and you self-correct, meaning you replace the verb to be with strong verbs, you replace it with a strong subject, you replace fragments with sentences, and that's your entire practice. You don't do anything else until you've mastered that.
Yeah, I see it, but I also see how much is behind it. Like,
of course,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
You have to know what you want to say. And very often we start speaking before we even know what it is that we want to say. A good practice is to wait maybe 3, 5, even 10 seconds before you give an answer. Amina asked you something, you don't have to respond immediately. You can say, okay, that's a good question, let me think. And actually use this time to understand what it is that you want to say, because we start speaking out of fear that what will they think if I say nothing? Maybe they will think I have nothing to say. Or we feel this pressure to immediately respond. And what happens is we say a lot of words that we didn't mean to say. Then we have to start over and explain what we actually meant. Then we over explain. We're taking up space and wasting our time, their time, and not creating the connection. Instead, we can just take 5 seconds before we begin. And it's okay if you have to think out loud and understand what it is that you want to say as you speak. But you need to slow down and pay attention to your audience because they will give you feedback. And it's not about saying the correct words. Let's explain what it means. I know how to do something, but I don't actually do it. And we can use the word day instead of Monday. For example, Monday never comes. How can we express this idea in a sentence?
Well, I still want to think out loud.
Let's think out loud. You don't have to give me a perfect answer right now.
So I want to use the word intention.
Or plan. Okay. Use the verb. Intention is a noun. Intend would be the verb.
I'm intended to do it.
Again, the verb to be. Can you hear it? I'm intended. You can say I intend.
I intend to start practicing.
This is another thing. You're stuck on a word. You're thinking about a word. Instead, in the community, we do the practice of sending and receiving sensory images. Because as I said before, when you say something, people either see it or they can't see it. Let's use your example with eating meat. That's what you said. The more specific the example, the easier it is for people to see it. I'm trying to help you. For example, and you can use this example. You want to eat less meat, right? Let's use a stronger verb. You decided to eat less meat. What do? Let's keep the sentences short.
Even though you know it's good for you?
We need to use day. That never comes.
But this day never comes, even though you know that.
We need to introduce people to the word day before if we want to say this day never comes.
The day when you actually start doing it?
For example, you need to build it up. Like people need to be able to follow you and to see it. For example, you decide to eat less meat. You decide to follow a new diet starting on day X, right? On day X, or you can even say, or starting Monday. You can even use Monday here, but that's not going to be an idiomatic expression. That's going to be a very specific example. You decided to eat less meat and follow a new diet starting Monday. Does it sound clear?
So far, yes.
Yes. And you could say, but on Monday, you eat eggs and bacon again for breakfast. So the Monday, we can say never comes. Or you can even say, next Monday, you're doing the same thing. So the Monday never comes. It's not perfect. I'm just giving you a suggestion. In this case, when you give a specific example, you need to use more words so people can see what you mean. Read it out loud and see if that makes sense. You will hear if we can improve more.
For example, you decided to eat less meat and follow a new diet starting Monday. But on Monday, you eat eggs and bacon again for breakfast. Next Monday, you do the same thing. So the Monday never comes.
Does it sound like something you could say?
Potentially, yes.
This is my example. You can change it. I want you to understand the structure, right? And the method behind it. You can replace it with any other example. It can be yoga, it can be English, it can be anything, whatever is true for you. If you're speaking about English and this is true, you can say, I feel trapped. I give myself promises to start working on my English every single month. I put English classes on my calendar every week and I never do them. That can be as simple as that. I bought a lot of books in English. I haven't started any of them. The more specific the examples, the more people can relate. You can say, I keep buying online courses. I never have the time to open them or complete them. Or I select good YouTube videos, put them all nicely on a playlist that I title Watch Later, Important, and I never watch that playlist. You see, this is very relatable because it's very clear. You don't even have to ask the question, have you experienced anything like that before? Because it's immediately clear and relatable. You have to ask yourself, who do I want to learn from? And why do I really like how these people speak? You will see that you like the people who are putting in effort to make sure you understand them. They are putting in effort to make it clear for you by being more specific, by giving you clear examples. They don't speak in abstract language because they care that you understand them. And when we care only about saying the right word or being correct, we don't have room for other people. We're too fixated on saying it correctly. And then it ends up being not clear anyways. That's like a whole mentality shift. Instead of focusing on yourself and how well you speak English, now you have to focus on them. Are they receiving my message? What can I do to help them receive my message? Because we're not here to pass an exam anymore. We're here for some real world tasks. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. To be honest, I'm so impressed that with the just couple of sentences, we revealed so many insights.
Everything you say spontaneously is like something you can work with. Anything you say, because every time you open your mouth, you're showing me your norm. And everything you say contains the information that we need to help you improve. You don't need any special textbooks. You don't need special YouTube channels. There's no such thing as unique content. The only thing you need to care about is that the content is created by native speakers for native speakers. It must be authentic. But everything you say has the right amount of information that we need to improve how you speak today. Anything. If you know what to pay attention to. That's why we're talking about attention today. And you need to be very specific. Like, what do we need to pay attention to here? The word it, the verb to be, the repetition, the Monday, the idiomatic expression that we think exists, but it doesn't exist. Because if you see it, if you're specific, you know what you need to change. I'm speaking in abstract language. Can I be more specific? When you see it for what it is, then you know how to work with it. If you simply say, oh, everything is so bad, I made so many mistakes, you just give up and get discouraged and you don't really know what to improve. In my community, we're working on this. I'm helping people see it because when you see it, you can improve it and then you're happy with your results instead of being discouraged about how many mistakes you make every time you open your mouth. And you will make many. But the more you do this, the more you can pay attention to the right thing. And as I said before, I did it on purpose. I showed you two things, both my mistakes and my successes. We don't only pay attention to what's bad, to what's not working. We want to be realistic. What's working and what's not working? For example, what's working here in what you said? What was good about what you said?
In the not corrected?
No, in everything. Because the first thing you said is that the content was good, the form was not so good. So you did something right. What was the thing that you did very well?
That I found an answer.
You knew what you wanted to say.
Yeah.
So you felt confident because you knew what you wanted to say. But how to express exactly what you want to say, this needs work. And this is why it's so frustrating. We know what we want to say, but when we say it, people receive something different, not what we wanted to say. And then we have to explain and over explain. This is what's frustrating because we don't pay attention to how we say it. We are fixated on what we want to say, but we need to learn how by looking at native speakers and learning directly from the source. They are showing us how every day if we pay attention. If we compare how we say it with how they say it, we can see the how and what about our how needs to change. If we only think about what, we're never going to progress. We're going to keep thinking that we said everything correctly, but they're stupid, they don't understand us. Do you guys understand the exercise that we just did? Let's talk a little bit. If you have any questions, if you have written anything down, let me know. This is the time for your questions. If you have thoughts, insights, aha moments, takeaways that you feel like you want to share, let's talk about them. What have you learned from the practice that we have done and from everything we've spoken about today?
I learned that we should learn from native speakers and from the content they created for another native speakers. So we will sound like them. And I think the second one is that there is no sense to prepare your spontaneous speech. You have to do work before it and after you said something spontaneously.
I'm not talking about preparing your spontaneous speech. We spoke about correcting your spontaneous speech.
Correcting.
Because if you try to correct everything you're saying in the moment of speaking, you will feel stuck all the time. And you will be in the situation again, oh, what's the word? I'm sorry, my English is bad. In the moment of speaking, we focus on speaking. We do the self-correction practice after we're done speaking. That's level 1. Anyone else? Does anyone else want to share something?
What I'm thinking that it's so easy now to understand everything when you see this on the practice. For me, it was a great show. Maybe not show. Maybe I choose the wrong word. But first of all, I would like to say to girls, thank you so much because it really helps to understand how it is important to sound easy, to have a very clear message to the person that you are trying to deliver your message. What I'm doing, I'm talking only about myself. Most of the time I speak English, I'm trying to translate my basic Russian sentences.
Yeah.
It is so wrong. The problem that I don't have a practice with native speakers. I do speak English with people from foreign countries, from Europe. It's not good practice because they do a lot of mistakes, you know?
So easy to say. It's their fault. Look, I don't live in an English-speaking country. I never have. I could also use this excuse.
I mean, I wanna feel very comfortable being in communication with the native speaker. Now I understand that I have to make a lot of home exercises to correct myself in my speech and to work on my mistakes. So
We
thank you
have,
so much, girls. Thank you so much, Natalia. It was a great experience today.
yeah, girls, thank you very much for your courage. We have 2 great native-speaking coaches in the community. Join the accent classes.
Yes, sir. I will have an additional questions to you, Natalia, after this meeting will be over, because I would love to join your community. Yeah, for sure.
Who else would like to share their takeaways?
Yeah.
Oh, Kate left a message for us. I've learned that spontaneous speech derives from polished grammar and word usage from correct speech. Also, that there is no such idiomatic expression in English. That's why I showed you 3 levels: correct speech, prepared speech, spontaneous speech. Maybe you have met those people who are very confident, but they talk bullshit. They're very confident, but like whatever they're saying doesn't make any sense. We don't want to be spontaneous, fluent, and messy. We want to be spontaneous and clear. And we need to know exactly what clear means. Thank you so much for practicing with me here today. If you guys are interested in where you can get more, if you haven't done this free course, 9 Essential Skills, here is the link where you can enroll in my free course and learn 14 different exercises that will teach you to pay attention differently. And if you want to join the community, please, you're very welcome. Every Sunday we have a live class. We have accent classes with a professional accent coach from LA. And we have group calls with a relationship and embodiment coach. She's also a native speaker. It's for women only for now. If you want to learn to express yourself, especially your emotions, I highly recommend you join those calls. I offer only 3 products: community membership, which is the most affordable product, group coaching, and private coaching. If you're interested in any of these, you can always send me a message and I can send you the right link. But this link will help you apply and become a community member. If you have no more questions or no more comments, then we're done for today. Thank you so much for practicing with me. And I hope to see you in the community or in another call. We are doing the Sunday practice call tomorrow, so maybe you want to join as well. Every Sunday, 9 a.m. Central European time.
Thank you so much, Natalia. We're happy to see you, to meet you. You look fantastic. And for me, your English 6 or 7 years ago was also fantastic.
My
Thanks
English changed a lot.
to the people who are present today at this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for practicing.
Please send me the link. Yeah, I'm looking for it, and then I will write you. I have some question about schedule, prices, and so on. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, have a great weekend, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye.